Good morning. Last part of the class here, well, actually second and last part, is to once again explain to you what went on relevant to the final exam. So I'm going to do the same explanation that I did during the midterm. We have your exam broken up into three parts here. The blue part here on the left-hand side are the raw scores of how people did on the exam. Next to that would be if I had used straight percentage, what that percentage for that relative score would be, and consequently what that grade would be based on that straight percentage. As I said before, this is not the way it's done because of the time factor and the way we went about doing it. Next to that, over here in this shade of yellow or whatever, I mean, this is yellow down here, but in this shade is what happens if it's curved. Okay, that's again assuming the normal curve, which is what is down here in yellow. The average score was a 30. You can see it's 30.82, but I rounded down because for purposes of curving, that benefits you. If I round it up, that means there's more scores below it than above it. So I round down the actual mean score to make more scores fall above it. The standard deviation is 9. So that means that if I start here in the middle with 30 as the mean and I add 9 to it, I get 39. That subtract 9 from it and I get 21. So you can see over here then the C range is between 21 and 38 because 39 starts the B range there. Okay, so 21 to 38 is the C. Then I go to next, I add another 9. I go then from 39 to 48. And you can see here then 39 to 47 because 48 becomes the lowest A. So my B minus, B, and B plus are in that 39 to 47 range, which is right in here. Likewise, going the other direction, I take another 9 from 21 and I get 12. So down here then 12 to 20, which is that range, is my D range. And then obviously anything below 12, 0 to 11 is an F. And anything above 48 is an A. But since we have A minuses and A's, since we were going in the same increments, as you can see, there are increments of 3, 48, 49, and 50, which is the lowest 1/3 increment, is an A minus, and then the rest, 6 and 9, would take us up to the A range. Okay, so this is what would happen if grades were curved based on this curving scale down here. So what happens is this 38 goes from an F to a C plus. This 17 goes from an F to a D. This 45 goes from a D to a B plus. And so these grades, if I curve them, would be supplanted by these grades. I'm sorry, that's the other way around. These grades off straight percentage are supplanted by these grades, which are curved. All right. Now, as you can see, this 52, someone actually got a 52. That sort of, I'm not going to say really skewed it, but it sort of did because coming out of the curve, there's actually an A this time, which did not occur on the midterm. I think the high score on a curve last time on the midterm was a B plus, which meant the next part of the adjustment was much larger on the midterm than it is here because of these high scores here, you know, this B plus and this A coming out of the curve. So the way the adjustment worked then is since we already had an A, which was a 52, as you can see, 51 to 56 is an A, just over the top, there was a little bit of room for an adjustment, but only 2-point adjustment. So what happens then is what I do, and again, I always do this when I adjust. I don't give it the top A because that wouldn't be fair. That'd be like saying you got 100%. but I always shoot for the middle A. So in this case, that's a 95%, which you can't calculate because we're not doing percentages over here. So I take the middle of the range of the A. So you have 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56. So if you work down through, you end up right around here, 51, 52, 53. I bumped it up to 54 to give you the maximum uh, adjustment. So therefore, if I had used the middle, which would be 52 and a half, that's sort of fudgy. So like I said, I rounded it up. So in order to make this 52 a 54, everyone else's score got bumped up by 2. And then this new score got compared against the curved score. So that's where the adjustment piece comes in. So this C plus went to a B minus. Some didn't change at all because they went from a low C minus to a high C minus. Okay, as you can see, this 24 over here was a 22, so that was one up on the C minus, and the 24 is now in the middle of the C minus range, so that didn't change at all. D went to a D plus. This B minus went to a B. Obviously, the A stayed an A. That didn't really change at all. But all in all, I think about 2/3 of the scores still bumped up from these curved scores to these adjusted scores. So these then are your final exam scores, which will be converted over to a number so that they can be averaged. And the way I do that, just so that you know, again, I try to give you the benefit of the doubt. A B minus is an 80, 81, and 82. A C is a 73, 74, 75, and 76. What I do is I give you the high end of the score. So this C plus becomes a 79 in terms of a point total, when the reality is the middle is a 78 and the low is a 77. So again, it's a little fudge factor to try to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so that's what will be inserted into the grade book. And then all the numbers are added together according to the syllabus, uh, homeworks, quizzes, and exams, and the percentages, and that'll be calculated and posted hopefully in about an hour here. It's just about 10 o'clock Saturday morning. I'm going to try to get these final pieces put in and up. And then they're going to stay live for the entire day, probably maybe until tomorrow morning. But then I have to flip this course around and get the new kids in for summer 2. And consequently, I need to kick everyone who's currently in out, so you will lose access. So you basically have today, and I have church and a ball game tomorrow. So there's a good chance by tonight I'm going to flip this course over before I go to bed, which will probably be somewhere around midnight. So you have basically what about get it up in an hour, about 13 hours if you want to check this out. I'm going to send an email out advising you to do so. I know it's a short notice, but I don't control the university's schedule. And like I said, I have to get the new group in there and get their information out to them before Monday morning, which means it has to happen tomorrow. All right, well, there it is. And like I said, I don't know how this is all going to shake out in terms of the big scheme of things, but I will here shortly as I now plug these final grades, convert them to numbers, and then plug them into the grade book. Okay, you take care. Bye-bye.